Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, what causes aggressive driving? So when we think of aggressive driving, there are a number of definitions out there for it. And I'm going to use the definition that aggressive driving is behavior intended to cause harm. So this can be physical harm, psychological harm, but either way there's intentionality with this type of definition of aggressive driving. So different behaviors we could see with aggressive driving would be excessively using the horn, weaving in and out of traffic, tailgating, yelling, crude gestures, and in extreme cases, colliding into another vehicle. So a kind of gray area here with this definition would be when someone's yelling inside their car when there's no expectation that they could be heard or seen by another driver. Now, it's also important to recognize there's a difference between aggressive driving and bad driving. All aggressive driving is bad driving, but not all bad driving is aggressive driving. So here I'm just really looking at aggressive driving and not so much bad driving or bad driving habits. So why does aggressive driving happen? Well, there are a number of reasons, but one of the major contributors that we believe would be anonymity, meaning that someone believes that they're not going to get caught or there's no consequences for showing aggression. Now, anonymity has been shown, not just with driving, but in general, to be associated with more risk-taking behavior, an increased probability of seeing criminal behavior, and an increase in aggressive behavior. So we know that anonymity as a concept has been studied fairly well, and when it's present, all these behaviors are more likely to happen. So it's not surprising that it would also apply to operating a motor vehicle. So what it really comes down to is this belief that consequences can be avoided. And when we think about this theory, it does seem to ring true. There have been challenges to this link between anonymity and driving, but when we think about it, it seems pretty clear that this is probably a part of what's happening. Consider two drivers that are on a two-lane road, and perhaps at a traffic light they get into some disagreement over one driver cutting the other driver off a little bit before that. And they start driving down the road, and maybe they're exchanging crude gestures. And then a police officer pulls up behind them, and both of the drivers can see this police officer in the rearview mirror. I would say that the vast majority of the time, the crude gestures and any other aggressive driving behavior would probably stop, as both drivers are now concerned with consequences, the possibility of being pulled over and having to answer for their aggressive driving. So it seems pretty clear, as I mentioned, that anonymity is an important part of this behavior and probably contributes to an amplification of this driving style. So if somebody has the hostile, angry, or angry driving style, that the anonymity is going to increase that effect, is going to magnify that behavior. Now, it's also important to realize that other factors come into play other than anonymity, including stressors. So driving can be very stressful, and certainly that can be a trigger for aggressive behavior. And it's also important to differentiate aggressive driving from high sensation seeking. Sometimes this is referred to as reckless driving or the reckless driving style. Individuals with this style aren't intending to cause harm. They drive fast, maybe they take corners quickly. They use driving as a way to experience excitement. Now, that's also bad driving, but it's not necessarily aggressive driving. I hope you found this description of aggressive driving and anonymity to be interesting. Thanks for watching.